Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. This is part 2 of the rural renovation, and in today's video we're going to start fully decommissioning the boiler cylinder, get the radiators out, as the last time we was here we didn't get around to it. So I made a bit of a balls up. So before I told you that we was going to be having an oil boiler remaining in this boiler room here, but the boiler that I originally quoted for is actually gone obsolete, and also the flue that I was supposed to be installing was only rated up to 21 kilowatts, which isn't going to be enough for this boiler. So now I've got the headache of relocating this boiler to an external wall or potentially into the garage, and the other headache that throws up is I've got to locate the oil line externally and make it accessible for a coupler and also run it to the new position. So yeah, a bit of a problem, but it's my own fault, a bit of an oversight, but we'll get around it. So all the cylinders and everything are all ordered, accumulator, so that'll be on its way soon. And what we're going to do today is just start getting all the rest of the radiators out. So a lot of these radiators are behind these decorative panels, which I'm now being told are staying. They're just going to be repainted, so we've just got to be a bit careful with these as we remove these radiators. So again, these will be being replaced like for like. I'll obviously calculate the heat for the rooms and yeah, tidy up the pipework, put new valves on. So a lot of these radiator positions are actually staying the same. We're just going to be replacing them with new steel white panel radiators. We need to tidy up quite a lot of the pipe work, so I'm imagining a lot of it will end up being chased in. We're having a bit of an issue having to back it out because there's no drain offs at a low level other than in the boiler room, so just chucking a few bags underneath, just catch any excess water, and yeah, just working our way through now the ground floor. So the radiator that was here that I've just taken off, it is the lowest point in the system, so there is a drain off on it. Unfortunately, this room steps down, so I can't just run a hose pipe out and drain it out, so we're having to wet back it. But it's pretty handy, so from here we can pretty much suck all the water out of the whole system, and that'll also help when it comes to flushing out, so we're getting rid of a lot of the dirt just by hoovering it all out, which is great. And you can see here the pipe work, it just pops through the wall here, so we're neating all this up. Probably going to, when it comes to it, a bit of smaller radiator in here. That one was absolutely massive, there's no need for it at all, so yeah, we'll size it accordingly. So we've just removed 20 feet radiators. It was a big old slog. Some of them were absolute beasts, so pretty knackered. And now we've got the fun job of taking off all these radiator brackets. But I'm upstairs and Bailey has decided to do the ones with flat heads, which is great. Okay, so now we've got all the radiators off. I just need to work out which ones we're going to be replacing them with and what size. So the majority of the radiators look okay size-wise for the rooms. If anything, they're probably oversized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the heat calculations. I've got the laser out, which is incredibly handy. So we can work out exactly what the heat requirements are for each room. And then what I normally do is I will write down a radiator that kind of fits the space or works well in the room size, and then I can check that with the BTUs that are required. If I find that's not suitable, then I can kind of go back to the drawing board. But generally, if I find that the one that looks right for the room is undersized, I can just turn it into a P+ or a double panel, and worst case scenario, work out if I can extend the pipe work and go from there. So these lasers are very, very good. I used to do everything with a tape measure, working out heat calculations, but for the sake of like 30 quid, it saves you so much time. But Bailey has already kindly gone round and worked out the heat loss calculations, and yeah, to be honest, it's just a case of measuring up and getting everything ordered. Right, so Bailey has got the hot water cylinder out now. So for those who didn't watch part 1, in this cupboard here, we're going to be having an accumulator and an unvented hot water cylinder. So at the moment, the current setup is it's a vented cylinder with tanks up in the loft. So we don't actually have a cold water main at the moment going into either this cupboard or the boiler cupboard, which is here. So what we're going to have to do is the water main comes in underneath the utility room over there, and we're going to have to take up the floor to channel in the cold water main, bring it up into this cupboard, and then that will supply the accumulator. So The other pipe that we don't have is also the balanced cold main, but what we're going to try and do is nick the cold feed that used to feed the vented cylinder, which goes all the way up to the tanks in the loft, and then we should be able to cross that over to the distribution pipework to the bathrooms, and then that will become our cold water feed or balanced cold main. So in here we had a lot of hot water draw-offs, but no hot water return, so no secondary return, which is great, so we've got no pump for that. And then down here just got the old zone valve for the hot water, and then some heating pipes which feed the radiator in the utility room. So once the units turn up, we can get a plan sorted and we'll get it all piped up nice and neat. And it's going to be a pretty tight squeeze. I think we've only got 20mm to spare, so it should be pretty good though. So we're just getting the oil boiler decommissioned and starting to rip out the old heating pipework. It's a bit of a beast, so it's going to be pretty heavy, but luckily the front door is literally just there, so we'll wheel it out and then have it taken away. So we've got a bit of an unusual situation here. We've got two zone valves which tee into each other, so if anybody knows what's going on there, I'd really appreciate it, because at the moment I'm clueless as to why it would be plumbed in that way. So when I plumb it back in, we're not going to leave it like that. It does seem like there's only one zone for heating and one zone for hot water, even though there are three zone valves. There's only one room start at the moment, so it'll have to be plumbed in that way. These pipes over here, that's the cold feed and open vent, which we'll be losing, but we might be able to make good use of them as they are running all the way up into the loft, so we'll just cap them for now. And then yeah, so this is a space that we was going to be installing the oil boiler, but it's now got to move, so again we're going to have to channel in through the floor the flow and return, so we can tap into the existing pipework, and either the boiler is going to be going into this room which was going to be a toilet, or on the other side of this wall is the garage, so waiting to see what the client wants to do. I would put it into the utility room, but the boiler that I want to fit, you have to access it from above, so having the worktop above it's not ideal really, so it's not really an option. So we've slid the boiler out now, it wasn't actually too bad, and wheeled it over to the skip, so Scrapman can come collect it at some point. So we've got a nice back wall there to put all our components on, but what we need to do is we've got to sweat off all these elbows along here so we can almost start fresh. So pretty much everything that is there is just flow and return, so we'll get them all out, tee them all in together, and then we can run it new into our new zone valves, pump, etc. along this back wall. Okay, so all the pipework's been removed now and we're ready for tomorrow to start putting in all the components. What we've done is we've cut the pipework right back to the wall, so we can try and make it as neat as we possibly can. We're just leaving the old cold feed and open vent there at the moment, just in case we need to piggyback onto it. Ideally I need to get this fuse spur moved because it's going to be right in the way and ruin everything, but overall we've made good progress today. Yeah, we'll move that tomorrow to start installing the new stuff.